Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. Today we are going to be taking a look at Flutter, which is by far one of the best Pokemon in the format right now. There is tons of options you have when it comes to running Flutter. In terms of items, you're looking at something like Booster Energy, Choice Specs, or Focus Sash as your main three. You get other items like, I think Fairy Feather could be cute. You also get, I think Life Orb is technically a little bit slept on as well. Regardless, tons of options for items. We'll break down some of the more popular ones in this video and some example spreads later on. But first things first, Protosynthesis, very good ability. Basically, if Sunny Day goes up, you're going to get a boost to your highest stat. It's nothing new, guys. We've all been playing Scarlet and Violet for a long time now. So 1.3 if you're on any stat, and then 1.5 on for specifically speed. Like, who at Game Freak said that that was the play? It just seems a little odd to me. Yeah, you're going to get a boost of 1.3 in every stat in the Sun, but if it's speed, nah. 1.5, we got you. For some reason, they decided to do that. Regardless, Terra type, you're probably looking at Grass or Ghost. Sorry, Grass or Fairy. Fairy is probably the most common one you are going to see. Fairy is... There's just no reason. There's really no downside to it. It's one of the best typings in the game, and you get a damage boost on top of already insane damage output off your special attack stats. So I don't know why you wouldn't want to do this. Grass is nice to get around some of the Amoonguss redirections, especially on like some of these specs variants that like you kind of want to just hit Moonblast into the target you want to be hitting. But overall, Fairy is probably the one you're looking at. I guess Water is kind of cute. Electric is like something in like rain teams, but I wouldn't really be recommending those barring any like very unique circumstances. In terms of moves, you have all kinds. You're looking at Moonblast for sure. You're looking at Dazzling Gleam from time to time. You're looking at Shadow Ball for stab. Then you have a bunch of other options. You have Icy Wind. I've seen Terra Grass Energy Ball. I've seen Fake Tears as a support piece. I've seen Icy Wind quite heavily. Icy Wind tends to be on those booster speed sets, which we'll get into a bit. Mystical Fire is fun as well, especially if you're going to be in Sun. You know, you get the Sun going, and then Flutter just basically becomes your Fire type. There is endless possibilities here. Perish Song is fun. Power Gem is really good into Ogerpon Fire specifically, right? And Instant technically, but Moonblast hits a little harder there, I think. Well, maybe not harder, but it still hits just as hard. Electric type coverage. Thunderwave if you want it to be that guy. Like, you just have tons of options. Long story short, I could get into all of them. I don't think you need to. These are the big three, and then you're going to put some sort of support or coverage move in this last slot, whether it's Icy Wind, whether it's Energy Ball, whether it's Power Gem, whether it's Perish Song, whether it's just Protect for that matter, right? Like, there's so many things you can do with the movesets and ways to approach this Flutter. These next few spreads are merely going to be suggestions. There's going to be spreads there, but feel free to play around with them because there is tons of options and tons of different things you can calc for when it comes to Flutter. Starting off, we're going to look at a Booster Energy speed set. And here, basically, Flutter is going to be your support piece. So you're looking at stuff like Moonblast for obviously your big damage stab. It's very good into stuff like the Scarf Urshifus, and there's no reason not to have a Fairy move. If you are running a Flutter you're probably running a Fairy move. Moonblast is the most consistent, so Moonblast goes here. And then you're going to go Icy Wind for support. And the concept with the Booster Energy speed is that it's going to give you that speed control where you get to lead Flutter plus something, generally speaking, you're looking at like Landorus, you're looking at Urshifu, where you get to go Icy Wind, get your partners faster, and then all of a sudden you're going to click Wicked Blow or Surging Strikes, and you're going to decimate things that would normally be faster than you that are no longer faster than you. Very, very good support piece in terms of just spamming Icy Wind. I used this in a tour a couple days ago, and quite literally 90% of the time I was just clicking Icy Wind to support my other pieces. But having the option to click Moonblast and do big damage is still really, really strong. I have Taunt and Thunderwave here. Both are very, very good. Thunderwave is great if you want a little bit more speed control or permanent speed control, or just the the cut in half drop instead of the 0.67 drop. Whatever you want to look at that as. It's a very decent form of speed control as well, so I did want to put it down. Generally speaking, I would say your standard set is probably Protect, but there's definitely nothing wrong with a Thunderwave here. You could also just say, I don't want Taunt or Thunderwave, and just put Shadow Ball and Protect. So like I said, a lot of options when it comes to Flutter in terms of moves, because they have so many, and so many are actually viable. Either way, After that, you're probably looking at a more defensive set. These booster speed Pokemon, or these booster speed Flutter mains, really like running bulky because they want to be hard to take down. They want to be able to get a second Icy Wind off, or be able to click Icy Wind the first time, survive, and then drop a Moonblast. Right, so you're probably looking at something pretty bulky like this, the 148, 236. This is specifically for Urshifu Surging Strikes. This will allow you to survive that 100% of the time as long as there's no boosting item, which is very, very nice. So with that, that's kind of the benchmark I wanted to showcase here. Everything else is pretty much just dumped into speed and special attack. I went speed to get up to 180. Now, I've seen booster flutters go lower. But I don't like this because I like playing around and like switching, right? And if I'm going to switch my booster flutter and switch it back in, I really want to be faster than like a max speed Ogerpon, which is why I like sitting at around the 180 mark. Once again, you can definitely go slower if you want. You can put some more into offense. I didn't really do any offensive calcs for this build because, like I said, 90% of the time, you're clicking Taunt, you're clicking Thunder Wave, you're clicking Icy Wind. Now, you can get aggressive with this and start clicking Moonblast. But I really wanted to showcase I'm going to have the survivability on this piece, make it that support piece on my team, and that's kind of the benchmark we hit here. You do eat a lot of other things as well outside of just that Surging Strikes, because in order to live Surging Strikes, you got to put a lot of bulk in, as you can see. So you are probably also living a lot of the Shenpao stuff. The only thing you really don't survive is like Terrafire, Ivy Cudgels, and Wood Hammers, and like the really, really strong stuff. Everything else you're generally good to take at least 1 or 2 on, which is very, very solid overall. Moving on, you get a little bit more of the offensive choice specs variants of these Flutter mains, and this is the one where, once again, you're probably going Terra Fairy, you're probably clicking Moonblast, Dazzling Gleam, Shadow Ball, and really is up in the air as to what you want as your last move. Energy Ball is valid if you find yourself clicking it. I don't know how many people would be clicking it, especially if you wanted to go Terra Grass to get around like Amoongus's. Why not have an extra stab move in Energy Ball? I wouldn't recommend it. I do think like something like Power Gem is an option. But having run Specs Flutter Mane in the past, you are clicking these first 3 moves 98% of the time, no doubt in my mind. This is what you're clicking more often than not. Like, you better have a very good reason for not locking in to one of Moonblast, Dazzling Gleam, or Shadow Ball. These 3 moves alone on Specs Flutter Mane cover pretty much everything you need it to cover. Right, obviously there are things that do wall it out, but overall, this is what you're looking at putting up move-wise more often than not. So I know back in the day, in a little bit of a slower pace format, you had like Perish Song on Specs Flutter Mane, which I still don't hate, by the way, especially like versus some of the setup teams going around right now. If you can drop the Perish Song and then switch out, it basically prevents their setup. Now, I'm not saying you're going to click that move, but like I said, you're sitting here 100% of the time, or 98% of the time, clicking these first 3 moves. So I really don't think it matters. Icy Wind is still an option. Energy Ball, Power Gem, all of these things are options here. There's not much. Mystical Fire, I guess, technically, if you really need fire coverage. But long story short, there is a lot you can do with this last slot, but it really doesn't matter outside of fitting a team specifically. Same for the spread, guys. Once again, I went specs. I wanted to showcase a little bit more of an offensive variant, but I still wanted to have speed. And because my specs Flutter Mane cannot protect, I wanted to be capable of outpacing Adamant Shenpao. Adamant Shenpao for me was a kind of a benchmark that I wanted to hit on specs Flutter Mane. I do like being faster than that. I don't know how many Shenpaos are actually Adamant. I feel like there's still enough of them that run Jolly, but I'm not going to outpace that anyways. That's just going to be a speed tie. So I don't need to worry about that speed tie. I'm going to slow down. I also outpace max speed Roaring Moon here, which once again, not super relevant in the format, but that does sit at 188. So creeping that and hitting at 189, it feels like a good speed set to hit on a piece that can't protect and that I want to be a little bit faster. If you have speed control, of course, once again, you can probably get away with a modest Flutter Mane. You can drop this down, but it really there's really no, this is the correct Flutter Mane spread. And there's just so much versatility in terms of what you're able to do. The benchmark was crazy. I think it was 2116. This allowed you to live, I believe, Sucker Punch from Shenpao. from the Adamant Shenpaos because you are faster than them, so they would try to, last ditch effort, chuck that sucker punch out there. If you're at full health, you're not dying. And then the rest of it was kind of just a dump because you didn't really need more than 196 in special attack. Like, you're hitting pretty much every calc you want. There's no harm in going 252 onto Specs Fluttermanes either. But, I don't know. Fluttermane is a Pokemon that really appreciates having Protect or not dying. So when you're the Specs variant and you can't have Protect, you kind of appreciate being able to take a few attacks, right? So a little bit of bulk, not quite as much bulk as the booster speed sets, which I guess you could just use this spread and throw choice specs on it. Like, I think that's like perfectly fine and you'd probably see success, right? Like in terms of fine-tuning spreads, it's really going to come down to calcs and stuff you need for specific teams. But if you're looking to throw a Specs Fluttermane on, I think this is a very valid option here, especially because I like the speed stat a lot. Now, what some players have started doing, and you're going to see that I actually haven't finished this spread, and that's on purpose, but have started running booster special attack. And the concept being the booster special attack is effectively a choice specs. Not quite as good of a boost, but you still get a good boost on your damage output. And you're allowed to run Protect. So because of that, I feel like a lot more often than not, they're probably less bulky, right? This is one of the ones where, you want to be doing damage. I don't know how high or how aggressive you would go, right? Because this just seems unnecessary. But, like, I definitely would think they are modest. These are those ones that have a lot of speed control beside them as well. So whether or not, you're going to set up Sun, you Tornadus, you put it up Tailwind, you have Sunny Day control, right? And then all of a sudden your Fluttermane becomes terrifying. Maybe you're pairing this with like a Torkoal, and all of a sudden your Fluttermane, not only is it, you get the booster energy, I guess the booster energy procs regardless, right, for the special attack, so Sun doesn't necessarily matter, but I guess if you lose it, you still get to go back to special attack. Regardless, though, you're looking at the big damage dealer with the ability to Protect, which I think is very, very good. And I really am going to be honest, I don't have a spread for this. I could lie and just say, yeah, this is a spread and put like 6 numbers into the builder here and be like, yeah, guys, use this spread, it's good. I'm not going to do that to you. I genuinely have no clue what these Flutters run. I don't know if they go bulky. I've played a few, and my Ogerpon has outpaced them. So, like, maybe they run slower and put the bulk there and then more special attack, right? There's a lot of options here. And frankly, I don't know what the consensus pick here is, right? Whereas, like, with the booster speed, I know the consensus, you run bulk and you run Icy Wind control. This is the consensus concept, right? Same with the specs, right? You still have a little bit of bulk. You hit a little hard and you try to put a little bit of speed in, right? Once again, speed you get to play around with depending on how much speed control you have on your team. But the booster special attack one, to me, I was never able to, I don't want to say I was never able to figure it out, but I don't really know how aggressive they go with their speed, how aggressive they go with their attack, right? It's one of those ones where I feel like something, you could probably get away with something like this, and that's probably fine. Okay, you wouldn't put the 4 there. The 4 would go here, but you could do this. I don't know if this feels right, but you could do that, right? And then you could also just do a more balanced approach, right? You hit the 116, which is the jump because you're modest. And then you can put this pretty much effectively wherever you want. I would say, once again, my first instinct would be let's outpace Ogerpon at 179. Don't really want to speed Titorn. Let's jump up to 180. But is that right? Is that where people sit? I don't know. I feel like you have a lot of options there. And then you can dump, once again, that Shenpao calc that we had earlier with the 20 into 116, right? Now I'm living Sucker Punch from Shenpao, which I do if I Terra Fairy anyway. So is that calc relevant? Do I want to go all the way up to, like, I don't know, 172, right? Do I get aggressive this way? Like, I genuinely do not know. So I'm not going to give you guys a spread for this one because I genuinely am uncertain as to what the consensus common concept would be. But I wanted to bring it up because it is picking up in usage, and it's something that you should be aware of when either prepping against Fluttermane or trying to consider Fluttermane for your team regardless, right? Like, I wanted to bring it up as yeah, this is an option, but I genuinely don't understand what's going on with these spreads, so I didn't want to say something and just lie to you guys. Focus Sash, obviously, just kind of like that Ogerpon, guys. I have to bring this up. Not too many options, or not too many players are running Focus Sash Fluttermane. It's around because it's very, very good. And Fluttermane is just one of the most broken pieces in the game. So you are going to try and find ways to fit Fluttermane on a team. And Focus Sash is another one of those options for that. Because now you're fast. With 205 speed, I believe, right? Yeah, that's pretty fast, right? So you still get to do the whole Icy Wind control stuff, like the booster speed Fluttermane. You have a Focus Sash, so you do not need to invest in bulk. So you can dump it all into special attack, actually have a pretty good special attack stat, and start dishing out damage that way as well, right? So I think on something like this, you go Moonblast, Shadow Ball, like dual stab, and an Icy Wind for control and protect. Dazzling Gleam, very valid option. Hitting both targets has always been broken. So Dazzling Gleam, very solid option as well. But yeah, no, Sash is one of those ones you're not going to see too much of. But once again, it is still a very reliable set for a Fluttermane in this format. Just because, like I said, you're going to want Fluttermane on certain teams that you build. Like I'd say out of 5 teams that I'm building, Fluttermane is on like 4 of them. Right? So like every 5 teams that Fluttermane's on 4, you're going to want to have different options to put this Pokemon on your team. And Sash is definitely one of those viable options for you. Like I said at the beginning, Life Orb, Fairy Feather, right? People are finding ways to put Fluttermane on teams, and this is just another one of those ways to do so. Something else that I didn't point out yet that I do want to say is you can consider a Calm Mind Fluttermane. I know Wolf ran it. I believe it was in Charlotte last season, or last time we were in Reg F. At the Charlotte Regionals, they ran a Calm Mind Fluttermane. That is definitely something to consider. I think it was Booster Speed, Terra Water with Calm Mind, or it was Terra Grass. It was something bulkier with Calm Mind. And the concept was, well, if setting up works for Raging Bolt, why not, set up with my Fluttermane, right? It is a valid option too, right? Because then you can pretty much run all bulk and not really put any special attack once you get the +1, which you're probably getting to pretty often, right? I believe Wolf had like double fake out, redirection, right? So that concept you get to have just Calm Mind, you get to get the +1. I didn't suggest it right off the bat because I don't think it's one of those mons that like you can just kind of slap on a team. But similar to the booster special attack, it's something that I think needed to be mentioned and talked about, right? Like a Calm Mind variant of Fluttermane, I don't think it works for every team. Just like I don't think Booster Special Attack Flutter works for every team. But once again, you're going to want to put Fluttermane on your teams. So finding different ways to utilize it and give it a purpose on a team outside of another Mon, you're going to have reasons for it. And Calm Mind is definitely one of those reasons to be using Fluttermane potentially. I know I deviated from the script a little bit here, guys. I normally like to go one by one, but there's just so much versatility when it comes to how to run Fluttermane in terms of spreads and bulk. Do you run the bulky one? Do you run the more offensive one? I still don't know what you do on Booster Energy, but Booster Energy Special Attack. I know I've seen it, right? And I've seen so many different variants. Some hit like crazy hard, some don't. But there's so many different variances when it comes to what to run. So I kind of bounced a little bit all over the place. Hopefully it wasn't too bad to follow along with. As always with these guides, the spreads will be down below. If you are interested in trying any of them out that we don't need to frantically copy off the screen. But Fluttermane, by far one of the best Pokemon in the format. I'm sure you'll be trying it out if you haven't already. But once again, if I had to slap a Flutter on, I'm slapping this one. I'm slapping the Booster Speed on more often than not. But like I said, I wanted to give you guys a bunch of options with the Fluttermane. So hopefully you guys enjoy this type of content. Please feel free to leave a like and subscribe if you do. Of course, really does help out the channel, and I really do appreciate it. But with that, I'm going to get on out of here. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will catch you all in a future video.